Good evening. Thank you for joining me here on the Royal House of Ra. This is your host, Amenhotep Khufu El Ra. And tonight's show is episode 6, and this is the um, Dynasty Zero. And in Dynasty Zero, you have two kings, the Scorpion King and Narmer. So we're going to be talking about those two first dynastic kings. And I might share a video with you that the reason why I want to share that video with you is because there is something that's mentioned in the video which I want you guys to very closely listen because it's there. The key is there. They're going to omit something in that video. So I might play it, I'm not sure. Now what I want to do before we move any further, I want to apologize for Friday's show, which was episode 5 about pre-dynastic Kemet. It was a good show, but the problem was at the ending part of the show, my computer died. I was live, the computer died, and it was still going on because when I checked my cell phone, it was still going on. Originally, it should not have been for 40 minutes. It should have been for at least 20, the most maybe 30 something minutes. But I want to apologize. It was a good video. I did look at it, but at the end you can see where it froze. So I'm doing this pre-recorded. So I am going to purchase a new computer. Actually, I'm going to purchase one probably by, I'm looking at, hold on, this thing is now, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to purchase a new one by either tomorrow or Tuesday. So I'm going to do that. Please be patient with me. We'll go live soon, but for now, I'm going to do pre-recording for now. So, let's see what happens with that. I think this light is a little bit too bright. Let me dim this a little bit. Oh my God, no. What are you doing? Okay, yeah. So we're going to go with a pre-recording. And from there, we're going to go on with the show until I get the computer this week. Because I need my computer. There's a lot of things I do. There's a lot of work I do dealing with the computer. There's a lot of jobs I do for companies and stuff like that. But so tonight's show is going to be a good show. This is something I was looking forward to. I hope you guys will enjoy it as much as I will. Another thing is I like to thank all of my supporters of the Royal House of Ra. Thank you for supporting the show. Please continue to do so. You guys been phenomenal. Please like. Please hit that like button because that helps out with the algorithm. Please like the show. Please share it. And also subscribe. And hit that notification button so you know when new shows will appear. Okay? So, before we go any further, but we should focus a lot more on Kemet itself and see what we can do to play our role in and getting Kemet going. And Kemetology should be the foremost thing to what we're trying to do, trying to not relive Kemet, but bring Kemet into light and tell the truth about the history of Kemet and not those who's whitewashing the history to benefit their own agendas. So there's things I want to discuss about that. I know in episode 5, which was this Friday, I had mentioned that I'm going to do some study and I'm going to commit to myself more with cometology. I was always into it, but for a period I kind of stopped, but I'm getting back into it, and especially with the revelation that I received when I did my DNA and found out that I am a descendant of Ramses III, that even pushed it more for me to really get involved and do some research and study. I'm also getting ready to do study on the Meta Netta. I have books on that. I'm getting ready to do that. It's important for those of you who are in the Kemetic community to study Kemet, share the knowledge with Kemet with others, share the right knowledge. Be careful of those who's in the Kemetic community who kind of, they in like a cultic like type of Kemetic branch of the Kemetic community, and they have their own spin on how they doing things. You got to be careful with people like that. But study the Meta Netta. You need to learn the scripts and learn the language, what they are saying to us in that written language. All right, so let's get on with the show. We're going to talk about Dynasty 0. I'm going to read from you a book that I had purchased. It's the chronological of the pharaohs. So I have of each dynasty. Now, certain dynasties is going to be more like Dynasty 1 have about 7 pharaohs. So I probably would read maybe about 3 of them, and then I probably would extend that episode into another episode to finish off that dynasty. Now, some dynasties is going to be long. You're going to have a good amount of pharaohs. Some of them is not going to be that long. So that's what that is. So let's get on to the show and let's move forward here. Okay, Scorpion and Narmer. On the fragmented so-called Scorpion macehead, a king is seen in full ritual dress with the ritual bull's tail hanging from the back of his belt, wearing the tall white crown hajed of Upper Kemet, and performing a ceremony using a hoe or mattock. Possibly he is opening the dikes ritually to begin the flooding of the fields, or he could be cutting the first furrow for the foundation of either a temple here at Acropolis or of a city, as Roman emperors more than 3,000 years later are depicted on coins plugging the outline of a city, its foundation, before the king's face, and therefore presumably signifying his name, is a scorpion with a 7-petaled flower above it. The decorative frieze around the remaining top of the mace head has lapwings hanging by their necks from vertical standards. This little bird, Richard, is, I don't like to say hieroglyphics, but it's hieroglyphics, but is metaneta, means common people, and their fate would seem to indicate that they have been overcome by the victorious King Scorpion. Whatever the ceremony being performed, 2 things seem clear. King Scorpion, wearing the white crown, is king only of Upper Kemet, unless the missing side of the mace head depicted him with the red crown as king of Lower Kemet as well. And there has been a battle, and the lapwings have been conquered. The interpretation must be, therefore, that the event is taking place before the unification of Egypt, placing Scorpion before Narmer. The major pieces from the main deposit at Heracles refer to Narmer, Narmer palette, and the Narmer mace head. The palette, a monumental piece of dark green slat with the earliest historical record from Kemet. Before I move on, let me just mention it because I forgot to mention that before I started. You know what? Let me kill this light. This light. Sorry about that. Let me just kill this light. This light. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, good. Light. All right. The dynasty from Dynasty 0 started from 3150 BCE to 3050 BCE. All right. So, all right. Let's read from here. Okay, it shows a victorious king whose name appears within a seraph. The earlier form of presenting royal names at the head of both sides between facing heads of the cow-faced goddess Hethra. The metadata of the royal name are a mud fish depicted horizontally above a vertical chisel, read as the name of Narmer. Narmer is shown in two aspects, wearing respectively the white crown of Upper Kemet, the Hajjat, and the red crown of Lower Kemet, Dashet, implying that he is now king of both lands. Later, the dual monarchy was to be shown by both crowns being worn together, one inside the other, and forming the crown of Upper and Lower Kemet, or Shemet. The principal scene, the more dominant artistically, has a large figure of Narmer wearing the white crown and smiting with upraised mace, a prisoner whom he grasped by the forelock. This is the earliest occurrence of what was to become an icon of majesty throughout the rest of ancient Kemet, his history right down to Roman times. However, this side of the palette should be the reverse, since on the other side is cut a shallow depression that indicates the humble antithesis of this magnificent piece. It is the scope in which cosmetic powder, probably green eye paint, coal, was crushed. This must then be the upper or obverse side. Here the king is shown in the red crown, is smaller stature, but still the dominant figure, being larger than any of the other participants. Okay? It is notable that both sides of the palette, the king is shown barefoot with his tiny sandal bearer, who also appears to have been his seal bearer, to judge from the cylinder seal suspended around his neck, following behind carrying a pair of sandals and what might be a small water jar. The king is twice represented in obviously symbolic and ritual context, and it may be that the events are taking place in a second era, and the king is ritually barefoot rather like Moses some 1800 years later. Certainly the god Horus is the king's god on his side, for as a falcon he holds a enemy ready for the king's attention by a rope uncomfortably threaded through the captive nostrils. The frontal face of the goddess Hether is the dominant aspect of the top of both sides of the palette and must surely have deep significance in such a prime position. Although Horus was the god of Hippocrates and Nectar, and it may be presumed that the principal temple was dedicated to him, it is possible that he is shown on the palette as the younger Horus, who was the son of Hether, which would explain his mother's dominant role in the palette religious iconography. To draw an analogy from much later in Kemetan history, the two finest remaining temples, both from the Ptolemaic period, are built on much earlier foundations and are respectively dedicated to Horus and Hether and at Didera, and their rituals involved an exchange of possessions between them. The Narmer mace head also shows ritual scenes, principally the celebration of the Heb-Sed Jubilee Festival of Renewal, where the king is seen seated wrapped in the appropriate cloak within a pavilion. A cow, Hether, and her calf also have a prominent place in the iconography. The king here wears the red crown, and his sandal bearer is again in attendance, although the king's feet cannot be seen because of his ground length ritual robe. Okay, so there you go with that, explaining that there. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to go read Dynasty 1. So this is a very significant part, because last week when I was reading about, pre-dynastic Kemet, this falls right into what was discussed about it, about pre-dynastic Kemet. And this is something that needs to, it makes sense. It makes sense, and you understand what's going on and why did it happen like that. So, before I move on with that, you know what, let me go with the video, and then I'll explain afterwards, after the video. So let's do this. Let's see if we can go. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna turn the video on, and I want you to carefully hear what they say.
Two hieroglyphs feature on both sides, a catfish and a chisel. They spell out a name, Narmer.
Okay. But did you hear the point? And I know you guys must have seen it, where the professor had said, the female professor, when she stated that where they had thought, that Egyptologists had thought that the founding of Egypt had to have been done outside of Egypt, like Mesopotamia, even up in Europe or Minor Asia. She believed that it was a civilization that was built in Africa. So she just basically told us that the Egyptologists of yesteryear basically were lying. Or they knew, or they didn't know, but the truth, they slowly come into grasp. They starting to realize, yes, Kemet was an African nation, and it was created by the indigenous people who lived there. So that's significance. I mean, I could have gone a little bit further with this, but I'm not going to go too far. But what I want to state is that in that video you saw where you have doctors of other institutions of learning like Yale and other institutions. Why isn't there no archaeologists from any of the historical black colleges here in this country? Why do they never send anybody to go there and do the research? If we're going to study Kemet, we have to take charge of this. This is something that we have to take responsibility for. You can't allow others to go and do it, because they do it, they can distort it. So you can't scream and holler and say, oh, they're not telling the truth. You know they're not, but what are you doing to tell the truth? That's the question. And we should be funding these higher learning, these institutions of higher learning, to encourage them to go out there and do the archaeological research and do the correct research and give the correct history. Because if you don't, others will do it and they'll distort it into their own benefit. But that is the end of tonight's show. I hope you enjoy it. Please share this video. Please hit the notification button. Please like. And thank you for your support. And I look forward to you. The next show is going to be pre-recorded. It might not be pre-recorded, but it's going to be done this Wednesday. So if I get the computer tomorrow, I probably set it up and everything and have it and do a live show Wednesday. But let's see what happens. If not, right now it's going to go for pre-recorded, just in case I'm not able to get it up live right away. But we're going to look at this Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. So once again, thank you for joining me on the Royal House of Ra show. Thank you. This is your host, Amenhotep Khufu El Ra. And until I see you again, enjoy your Sunday and have a blessed day. Take care.